Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man. You know what this is, your spot for them daily hip hop updates. And today we going to talk about 50 Cent, man. So it looks like 50 Cent is trying to profit off the past beef that he had with the rapper The Game. Now, for those of you who don't know, The Game used to be down with G Unit. They were all one family, and then things went awry. Now, before we get into the specifics of everything, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and let's get it. Now, 50 Cent is a busy man. He's got shows all over the place. He got shows on ABC, CBS. He got shows on Stars, man. He's doing his thing on the Hollywood side of the game, man, on being a producer for all these big time shows. Well, on social media, he put out that he wants to do a show, and this is what he says specifically. It says this post right here: 50 Cent's feud with The Game gets anthology series treatment at Stars. So he's looking at dropping a whole series about his beef with The Game. And I know a lot of people, they understand that 50 Cent and The Game had a beef, but they really don't get an understanding of how long that beef lasted. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go through an anthology of the whole beef, just a breakdown of everything that happened in the history of the whole beef and what went down. Instagram post right here, this is exactly what he said. He said, yeah, I had to do this one so everybody can see how Jimmy the Rat was moving. Legendary sucker, new show, hashtag Stars Play, get the app, hashtag Branson Cognac. So 50 Cent always promoting, man. I'm guessing that he just wants to put it out there about Jimmy Henchmen, because Jimmy Henchman's story by itself is very interesting. Now, for those of you who don't know, James Rosemond was Jimmy Henchman, and he was the manager for The Game for a long time. Now, dude had been implicated in things like Tupac getting shot back in the day. A lot of people have alleged that. He's been implicated in a lot of crime dealing with hip hop. He had a very high profile case of on his own, and I believe he was sentenced to a life sentence, you know what I mean, but for a murder for hire. And it's crazy, man. It's just an interesting story all on its own, man. If you want to do your research about Jimmy Henchman, or, man, if y'all want, I'll drop a video about it and break it all down. But to make it brief, he was allegedly, now, there was a situation where Tony Yayo was looking for Jimmy Henchman and he couldn't find him, and some went down with Tony Yayo and Jimmy Henchman's son. And then Jimmy Henchman allegedly hired somebody to find another gentleman in G Unit by the name of Lodi Mack. And, you know, Lodi Mack ended up getting killed, man. It was this crazy story. Jimmy Hench was brought to trial. He went to trial in 2015. After the 2015 trial, the verdict was that he was found guilty and he was given 20 years to life, man. That is an interesting story on its own. So I wonder how much of that is going to play its role into the TV series. I'm sure it is, man. And that's no spoilers. I'm sure there's more that we don't know, especially with 50 Cent. He gets deep, man. He's going to get deep with this thing, man, and talk about everything. When it comes to The Game, since The Game got kicked out of G Unit back in 2005, there's been over 100 diss records that have been released in their beef, man, between 50 Cent and The Game. Now, first, man, 50 Cent and The Game, they first met, man. He signed him to his record label. They both worked on the documentary project, which was The Game's very first CD. 50, he had like 3 singles on it, you know what I mean? And he put a lot of work on The Game's album. And I think that was the original start of the tension between them. And then from that point, man, it seemed like all downhill. Even though The Game was originally repping G Unit and stuff, it always seemed like he was his own thing. Originally, you know, started just because of the Game and his album. They were supposed to be releasing around the same time, and then they pushed The Game forward, you know, knocking 50 Cent's Massacre album, you know, out of the primary spot. And he had an issue with that. And it's also said, man, it's been rumored that they had tension so early on that when they filmed the third video off The Game CD, Hate It or Love It, that him and 50 Cent were beefing behind the scenes of the Hate It or Love It video shoot. So, man, these cats were always at odds, it seems. But things really took a turn for the worse when 50 Cent went on radio. He went on Hot 97 and he dismissed The Game from G Unit live on radio. You know, he just said, man, boom, you out of G Unit, man. And people were like, what? It was like breaking news, even to the game, I'm pretty sure. So 50 kicked him out of G Unit in 2005 and told him, hey man, don't say G Unit no more, you're gone. And basically you think you're doing me a favor by saying that, and quit it. That very same evening, there was a scuffle between the Games clique and 50 Cent's clique, and somebody got shot, man. There was gunshots outside of Hot 97. It's a very famous story, man. So nobody says who won the scuffle, but man, somebody's security guard shot somebody who was accompanying Game in the leg. So one of Game's affiliates got shot in the leg. This broke a lot of news. I mean, everybody was reporting on it, and they had to do something. So they called a press conference, and it's a very famous press conference, and 50 Cent met with the Game, and they said in like March of 2005 that they were calling an end to the beef. But it just seemed like it wasn't authentic, and man, we'll find out later it wasn't. As soon as the press conference was over, man, 50 Cent and the rest of G Unit, they went on a kind of attack mode. They made sure that the Game wasn't featured on any more of their albums or none of their projects. And they were talking about them on social media, what was early social media back then, which is blog posts and stuff like that, man. And then next, the Game said, forget it, man. He wasn't just going to take all that mess. And he came out with a slogan of his own called GU Not. Now, after G Unit said, forget you, he came out with GU Not, and he put out a diss track called 300 Bars and Running. And 50 Cent responded by showing the Game as Mr. Potato Head doll in a video of his song Piggy Bank. Now, both of these diss tracks kicked off a long list of other diss tracks. They were really at odds, but something surprising happened in September of 2006. The Game went on Angie Martinez's show, and he basically said that he wanted to make up with 50 and G Unit and see if they could do something respectfully that'll end this disagreement. And 50 and G Unit, they just stonewalled him, man. They didn't say anything. They let that lay out there, and they still put up that wall and didn't want to work with him. The Game wasn't getting a response from 50 Cent in his camp. He extended the apology to Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre because it was a lot of mess, man. You got a whole label over here and everybody's working together and they're all successful. And then Game seemed like the wild card, like the one who was bringing turmoil and beef within the crew. And Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre, they said, man, they'll work with him, and they basically got him his own type of deal. Now, what's crazy is I remember all this in real time. I remember going to all the forums and to watching this beef and how things were going down and all the mixtapes. And man, even though Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre forgave the Game, fast forward to 2009, Tony Yayo goes on the radio and he's talking about the Game, and he basically says they ain't speaking to the Game, they ain't rocking with the Game, nobody from G Unit is messing with the Game. Now, by January 2009, G Unit just really wasn't a force in hip hop anymore. And the Game, they say he was just too shaky. They say one day he would try to make up with them. Then the next week he'd be talking about, forget G Unit, F G Unit and all this stuff. And then after he heard about the Tony Yayo interview, he went out to Sydney, Australia and dissed G Unit all over again. So man, I will say that about this beef between 50 Cent and the Game. Yeah, the Game, he always seemed a little erratic with his responses, but 50, he was out there dissing too, man. And then he was dropping, like, he had Spider-Loc and all those cats. They were always dropping disses towards the Game. And Game was just a better rapper, and he was killing them. And to make things worse, man, 50 Cent, he dropped a song called So Disrespectful on that Before I Self-Destruct album. And side note, I actually like that hood little movie that came with Before I Self-Destruct album, man. I watch that all the time, man. Shorty in the movie, 50 Cent. It's pretty good. It's entertaining. I'll say that much. But he dropped a song called So Disrespectful, and he even mentioned the Game by name and said that the Game would never be his equal and stuff. And you could tell from that, man, that 50 just didn't care about dissing with the Game, man. He always thought that he had the upper hand on the Game, and the Game would never be, his equal. And that started a whole new row of dissing, man. They started dissing each other on mixtapes again, man. All of G Unit, all the extra artists on G Unit, which you can call them the auxiliary artists, like Spider-Loc and all those cats, man. They were dissing the Game. It was just a lot of back and forth, man. And then the Game in November 2010 reached out to 50 again on Twitter. Now, you can tell we really get into the social media age. And he was like, yo, he was just trying to get on the phone with 50 and see if they could put an end to it. And 50 never responded. To this day, 50 has not responded to that at all. All know how petty 50 Cent is, man. So fast forward to 2012, and 50 Cent dissed the game again, man, on a song that he had with Eminem and Adam Levine. And he just mentioned Game and Buck, because at this time, him and Young Buck were having it out as well. So he mentioned Game and Young Buck and told him to, and said some very disrespectful stuff. I'll say that, man. It was just the kind of diss that you tell another grown man, and the next time y'all see each other, you might have words. We start to slide into other years like 2012, 2013, man, and it's obvious they're not cool. In January 2013, man, the Game started this thing. It was weird, man. He had a petition out there for a G-Unit reunion. A lot of people signed it, and 50 Cent was like, man, what in the world? He just wasn't with it, man. He's been done with the Game since back in the day when they first started going back and forth at each other. And it's obvious they ain't going to be cool after that. Even though he's planning on doing the new TV show, I'm pretty sure it's going to be focused more on his situation with Jimmy Henchmen, because that's more of a street situation. But 50 Cent had took the media to radio again and said that basically, man, he is not going to respond to Game because he sees that the Game is dying out here, and all that trying to drum up interest, like signing the petition and all that, is just trying to get people looking at them so that he can diss them later for a profit. And he just sees right through it. And the Game followed up that failed petition with another diss track. So, 50 kind of just read it, man. He read that. And then the funny part about it is G-Unit actually did have a reunion concert, man. They had a reunion concert, and instead of the Game there, they had Kid. And, they actually even had Young Buck come back, man. They had Tony Yayo. But the only person that was missing was the Game, man. That's crazy. Now, it seems like since then, everything has cooled out, man. They've pretty much chilled out. I mean, these cats have gotten older. And to be honest, the last report of any interaction between them was back in 2016, where they both were seen in King of Diamonds strip club together, and they were just chilling, man. So I'm hoping that they can get on a good, have a good report going into the show, and maybe we can get two different perspectives that'll make for a banging show and banging entertainment. Now, with that, this has been your boy Big Man. Please like this video. Please subscribe to this channel. And, oh yeah, hit that notification bell so you get a notification every time I drop this daily content. And we out of here. Peace.